Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. Today we're here to talk about the Beretta Cheetah, a series of pistols called also the 80 series or 81 series. In this case, it is a Model 81 in 32 ACP. Before we get into that, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. This all costs money and your contributions help more than you know. I also like to thank channel benefactors like Rain City Shooting Supply, Leah, Pat, Tyrone, all manner of people who have been helpful to the channel in various ways. So, introduced in 1976, the 80 series, or the Cheetah, came in a variety of flavors. There were single and double stack guns, the 82 being the single stack gun, and the 84 being a 380, the 86 having a tip-up barrel. There were also versions in 22 long rifle. So quite a variety of different possibilities. These were popular with European police agencies, and the 32 ACP in recent years, a bunch of Italian police trade-ins have come into the country at very reasonable prices. This is not one of those. I know nothing of the history of this gun except that it's been through it. Nonetheless, it is an exceptional shooter. Really, really nice gun to shoot. And part of that is the low recoil inherent with 32 ACP. Part of it is it's an old Beretta. That's never a bad thing. Let's have a look at this on the tabletop. The Beretta Model 81 is not a tiny gun. It is more in the modern idiom of a compact, roughly Glock 19 size, 6 3/4 inches long, about 5 inches high, and weighs 23 ounces because of the alloy frame. The grips are exceptionally fat, coming in at just over 1 1/4 inches across the hole. And this is something Linda commented on. She said, "My God, that's a fat grip. It's not uncomfortable, but it's really fat." Now, me, with my larger than human hands, I find it quite comfortable, but again, it is a fat grip. Operation is straight blowback, double action, single action. And the double action trigger pull is pretty nice. There's very little stacking, and it breaks at about 6.5 pounds and is exceptionally smooth. It really feels kind of like a good double action revolver trigger. Single action, grab the handy dandy Lyman trigger gauge. Make sure we're set. Is just over 4 pounds on that pull. And again, just over 4 pounds. Call it 4 1/4 pounds. The trigger has take-up. It's a thing with double action, single action autos. There's always going to be take-up on the single action. And it breaks quite crisply. You don't really feel much over travel. There is some, but you don't really feel it. Reset is pretty short. It's decent. It's not exemplary, but it's quite decent. Very easy to keep rounds on target with this gun, and it has very low recoil. The ample grip and the modest caliber means it's kind of like shooting a 22. Sights are nothing special. There is a small black notch at the rear. There is a front blade that previous owner has thoughtfully painted orange. At least I assume that was the previous owner. And I found them relatively usable. Not optimal, but not bad. And again, standard operation is double action, single action. First trigger pull is double action. Subsequent pulls are single action. And it's a very nice gun to shoot because you've got plenty of grip on it. You've got a good trigger, reasonable sights, and the recoil impulse, as mentioned previously, is trivial. Now, this gun, I said, has been through it. There's some very bad areas of pitting on the slide, and one on the front of the aluminum grip frame that Lord only knows what caused that, but it is bloody deep. So, very serious. Maybe, I don't know, battery acid or something. I don't know what would do that. But, so this is not a looker. You can see the wooden handles are quite beat up also. I'll be refinishing those. And maybe relieving them a little bit to slim things down in the hand. The magazine well is not appreciably beveled, but it doesn't need to be because the magazine tapers. It's built in. Magazine holds 12+1. Interestingly, the 380, even though the case is significantly larger in diameter, holds 13+1 because the semi-rim nature of the 32 ACP means it just doesn't stack as neatly in the magazine. Now, this part of the follower is quite interesting because this is where it engages the slide stop. And it has that separate piece there that pokes through. I really kind of like that. I think that's very effective. Now, there are cutouts on both sides to retain the magazine because you can, in fact, reverse the magazine release, which, again, is a pretty advanced feature for a gun designed in 1976. And, like I say, it's rough. I mean, that pitting is just pretty awful, but I don't care. I have always wanted a Model 81. Why I've always wanted a Model 81 specifically, I could not tell you. I think in 380, in the 84, the gun makes a whole lot more sense. But the heart wants what it wants. So it does have some archaic features, like not having a hammer drop safety. I'm told that later guns did have a method to drop the hammer safely, but this one does not. So you have to release it and then just ease it down. Anyway, great old gun. Feels wonderful in the hand despite the really fat grips. Magazine is just enough toe on it to help the grip. And just such a sweet shooting gun. Let's have a look at some shooting video. Now, I will say about the shooting video, I found some random rounds in my shop and thought, oh, wow, why are these lying around? So I took them with me and fired them through the gun, and I found out why they were set aside. They sucked. They had poor primers and just were not very well hand-loaded. Mea culpa. So, terrific old gun and great on the range. And with modern defensive ammo, like the Underwood 55 grain Extreme Defender, which actually meets FBI performance standards for duty ammunition in a 32, a case could be made for this gun. Not a good case, because the 84s are just as available, if not more available, and they're chambered in 380, and there's a lot of decent defensive ammo in 380 ACP. Even in 380 ACP, the main use case for this is that it fits someone, works well with their hand strength and, recoil intolerance or whatever. And recoil intolerance is not always a matter of age. My wife has been recoil intolerant since I met her over 27, 28 years ago because of a previous injury to her wrist. And a gun like this could be okay for her but it'd be better in 380. Why I have always wanted the 32 ACP Model 81, like I said, I couldn't tell you. It's just what I wanted. And I'm not disappointed. This gun is rough. The pitting is so deep it cannot really be cleaned up. Don't care. I like it. It is a delight to shoot. It's very easy to shoot accurately. And it's mostly going to be basically just a range toy, and that's fine. Not everything is about need. So I finally have my Model 81. It came about because a friend of mine bought it accidentally. We don't need to go into details. And discovered that with the pitting and everything, he couldn't have it engraved the way he'd wanted to, and so he offered to swap it to me for one of my handmade knives, which I was happy to do because I finally got my Model 81. So I just love it beyond reason. Fantastic gun. And if you've got a penchant for 32, you should have one because they're great. Anyway, that's it for this time. I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.